The silver ship emerged from the darkness of space like a ghostly whale, its metallic surface gleaming under Earth's distant sun. Dr. Han Ta-Wu pressed his hand against the thick glass of the International Space Station's observation deck, his breath fogging the window as he stared in wonder at humanity's first visitors from the stars. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, Ta-Wu had spent his entire career studying the possibility of alien life. Now, watching the massive vessel drift closer to their orbit, all his years of research seemed like child's play compared to the reality before him. His heart raced as he observed the intricate patterns etched into the ship's hull, patterns that spoke of technology far beyond human understanding. The ship's arrival had thrown Earth into a carefully controlled chaos. Military forces worldwide stood ready but not aggressive, while governments scrambled to present a unified front. The first transmission from the vessel had come 3 days ago, in perfect English and every other major Earth language, requesting peaceful contact. Down in New York, at the United Nations headquarters, Dr. Park Ji-won adjusted her suit jacket for the 10th time. As Earth's chief negotiator, she had dealt with countless difficult situations, but nothing had prepared her for meeting actual aliens. The assembly hall buzzed with nervous energy as world leaders and their representatives waited for the arrival of the Galactic Council's delegation. When the doors finally opened, a hush fell over the crowd. Ambassador Lyra walked in with impossible grace, her iridescent skin shifting colors like oil on water. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, humanoid but clearly alien, with elongated limbs and features that seemed to catch and reflect light in mesmerizing ways. Behind her, 6 other beings of varying appearances followed, each as striking as their leader. People of Earth, Lyra's voice resonated through the hall without any visible amplification. We come as friends and equals, representatives of the Galactic Council, a union of over 300 spacefaring civilizations. Ji-won watched as Lyra displayed holographic images of distant worlds and advanced technologies. The ambassador spoke of clean energy, medical breakthroughs, and faster-than-light travel. She described a galaxy teeming with life and culture, promising Earth a place among the stars. In the following weeks, the Council began establishing cultural centers in major cities across the globe. Kim Do-hyun, fresh out of diplomatic school, found himself assigned to the Seoul facility. The young diplomat spent his days helping coordinate exchanges between human scientists and council representatives, but something about the whole situation made him uneasy. Do-hyun noticed small things at first, the way council members would sometimes pause before answering simple questions, how certain areas of their facilities remained mysteriously off-limits, and the careful way they steered conversations away from military technology. One afternoon, he observed a council member quickly hide a device when they thought no one was watching. Back on the space station, Dr. Han Ta-Wu received permission to study some of the simpler life forms the Council had brought as examples of galactic biodiversity. As he worked, he caught glimpses of their ship through the station's windows. Sometimes, late at night when most of the crew slept, he saw strange lights moving across its surface, like ripples in a pond. During a routine cultural exchange meeting, Do-hyun noticed something odd in the way Ambassador Lyra's skin shifted colors when discussing certain topics. He began keeping a secret journal, noting down patterns in the color changes and matching them to subjects of conversation. The diplomat noticed that questions about Earth's defense capabilities always triggered a particular shimmer of deep blue-green. As months passed, more humans visited council worlds, returning with tales of wonders beyond imagination. Yet Do-hyun's unease grew stronger. He shared his concerns with Dr. Park Ji-won, who initially dismissed them as newcomers' paranoia. However, she too had begun to notice discrepancies in the council's behavior. One evening, while reviewing recorded meetings, Ji-won discovered that the council's translations of their own historical documents contained subtle but significant differences depending on which human language they were translated into. When she tried to cross-reference these variations, she found that access to the original documents had been restricted. The first year of contact was drawing to a close, and Earth had changed dramatically. New technologies began to appear in everyday life. Clean energy plants, advanced medical facilities, faster transportation systems. Yet for every breakthrough shared, the Council seemed to hold back two more, always with perfectly reasonable explanations that somehow left both Do-hyun and Jae-won feeling increasingly uncertain. Dr. Han Ta-woo made his own disturbing discovery while studying a Council-provided biological sample. Hidden within its cellular structure, he found what appeared to be artificial markers, signs of genetic engineering so advanced it had taken him months to notice. When he requested more information about the sample's origin, the Council politely but firmly denied his request. As Earth prepared to celebrate the first anniversary of contact, these three individuals, the xenobiologist, the chief negotiator, and the junior diplomat, each carried their own pieces of a puzzle they hadn't yet realized they were solving. Little did they know, their separate discoveries would soon connect to reveal a truth that would shake the foundations of humanity's new place in the galaxy. 3 years had passed since the arrival of the Galactic Council, and Earth had transformed in ways few could have imagined. Lee Sun-ho sat in his office atop the Global Technology Integration Center in Seoul, watching the magnetic levitation trains glide silently through the city. The trains were just one of countless improvements the Council had brought to Earth. As head of the committee, Sun-ho had overseen the implementation of technologies that seemed like magic just a few years ago. Hospitals now cured diseases that were once thought fatal. Clean energy powered every home, and air pollution had become a thing of the past. The public praised him as one of the architects of humanity's golden age. Yet something troubled Sun-ho as he reviewed the latest batch of technology requests from the Council. Once again, they had denied sharing any defensive capabilities. Their response was polite, wrapped in diplomatic language about cultural readiness and developmental stages, but the pattern was clear. 3 years of requests and 3 years of gentle deflection. In a different part of the city, Dr. Yoon Mi-rae worked late into the night at her research facility. The soft glow of holographic displays filled her office as she dug deeper into the Council's historical database. As a historian specializing in civilizational development, she had been granted special access to study how other species had joined the galactic community. Mi-rae's eyes widened as she noticed something strange in the data. The Centaurian civilization, mentioned prominently in earlier records, had completely disappeared from later documents. Not through war or disaster, but through what the Council termed a voluntary withdrawal. She began searching for similar patterns. Her colleague, Choi Dae-sung, entered the office with 2 cups of coffee. "Still at it?" he asked, placing 1 cup beside her. "Dae-sung, look at this." Mi-rae pointed to her display. "I found 7 more cases. The Proxians, the Aldebaran Alliance, the Rigel Consortium. All of them vanished from Council records within the past 1,000 years. Dae-sung set down his coffee and pulled up a chair. As a data analyst, he had a knack for finding patterns. "Show me the timeline of their disappearances," he said, fingers moving across the holographic interface. Together, they worked through the night, cross-referencing the dates and circumstances of each civilization's withdrawal with their level of technological advancement. A disturbing pattern emerged. Each disappeared shortly after reaching a certain developmental milestone. Back at the Integration Center, Sun-ho received an urgent message from a Council representative. They wanted to install new monitoring equipment in Earth's major power facilities. The request seemed reasonable. The Council had provided the technology after all, but something about the timing felt wrong. Sun-ho opened his private files, reviewing the technological implementation schedule. Earth was approaching several major milestones in energy production and quantum computing. According to the Council's development scale, humanity would soon reach Level 3 status, the same level, he realized with a chill, that the Centaurians had reached before their mysterious withdrawal. In their research facility, Mei Ray and Daesung made another discovery. The Council's current activities on Earth matched patterns from their historical data. The same sequence of technological sharing, the same careful deflection of military technology, the same installation of monitoring systems. Daesung pulled up current Council activities on Earth. "Look at these installation requests," he said, pointing to a series of dates. "They match the pattern we found in the Proxian records, right before their disappearance." Mei Ray felt her heart race as she cross-referenced more data. The Council's behavior followed a clear protocol: gain trust through technological gifts, establish monitoring systems, restrict military development. And then, the records always went dark at that point. That evening, Sun Ho received an unexpected visitor at his office. Dr. Yoon Mi-rae looked exhausted but determined as she spread her findings across his desk. As he examined her research, the color drained from his face. The technological gifts, the monitoring systems he had helped install, they were all part of a pattern that had played out multiple times before. "We need to be careful," Mi-rae warned. "The Council has sensors everywhere. We don't know who might be watching." Sun Ho nodded, his mind racing through possibilities. They needed to warn others, but they had to be subtle. Any obvious moves might alert the Council. As he looked out his window at the glittering city below, the technological marvels that had seemed like blessings now felt like beautiful traps. "We'll need help," Daesung said quietly. "Someone with diplomatic connections who can move without raising suspicion." Sun Ho thought for a moment, then smiled. "I know just the person. The junior diplomat who's been asking the right questions for 3 years." As they began planning their next moves, none of them noticed the slight shimmer in the air near Sun Ho's office window. A distortion that might have been a heat wave, or perhaps something else entirely. The Grand Celebration Hall in Geneva sparkled under crystal chandeliers as Earth's leaders gathered to mark 5 years of partnership with the Galactic Council. Captain Kang Min-sik stood near the back wall, his dress uniform crisp and perfect, watching Ambassador Lyra glide toward the central podium. Her iridescent skin seemed to shimmer more intensely than usual. The room fell silent as Lyra raised her hand for attention. Min-sik's fingers tightened around his hidden communication device, waiting. For 2 years, he had helped prepare for this moment, hoping it would never come. Honored representatives of Earth, Lyra's voice carried its usual melodic tone, but something darker lurked beneath. Today marks not just an anniversary, but a transition. She paused, her skin shifting to a deep violet color none had seen before. Earth has been evaluated and found suitable for resource extraction. Your cooperation in this process will make things easier for everyone. The silence in the room turned to ice. Before anyone could react, the walls of every cultural center worldwide began to transform. Hidden panels slid away, revealing weapon systems that had laid dormant for years. Across the globe, Council ships appeared in the skies, dropping their cloaking fields. But Captain Kang Min-sik was already moving. He pressed his communication device 3 times, the signal they had prepared for. Across Earth, hidden systems came to life. 2 years earlier, Lee Sun-ho had shared his suspicions with Min-sik and a select group of military leaders. They had worked in secret, studying every piece of Council technology, finding its weaknesses, and developing countermeasures. They made sure to maintain a perfect facade of simple adoption and gratitude. As Lyra continued her speech about Earth's new status, the first Council weapon platform attempted to power up. The energy surge triggered hidden dampening fields, technology reverse-engineered from the Council's own systems. The weapons sputtered and died. Min-sik watched Lyra's expression shift from confidence to confusion. The Council member's skin rippled with patterns he had learned to read. Surprise, anger, fear. "What have you done?" Lyra's voice lost its melodic quality, becoming sharp and cold. From his position, Min-sik allowed himself a small smile. "We learned from history," he said clearly, "just as you learned from your previous harvests." Outside, Council ships found their weapon systems failing to respond. Earth's atmosphere had been saturated with specifically tuned particles, a defense system hidden in the very clean energy programs the Council had praised. In orbit, hidden Earth defense platforms emerged from their camouflage. They had been built in plain sight, disguised as communication satellites, using technology pieced together from 100 subtle observations. Lyra's skin turned a deep, angry red. Impossible. Your species could not have developed these countermeasures. We didn't develop them. Lee Sunho stepped forward from the crowd. We adapted them. From you. Every gift you gave us, we studied. Every system you installed, we learned from. We played the part you expected. The grateful, naive species, too excited by new toys to ask questions. The sound of distant explosions reached the hall. Council ships, their systems compromised, began falling from the sky. Earth's defensive grid, hidden but ready, had activated perfectly. You should have researched humans more carefully, Minsik said, stepping forward. We had a long history of learning from those who underestimate us. Across the globe, military forces emerged from hidden bunkers, armed with hybrid weapons that combined Council technology with human innovation. The supposedly peaceful cultural centers, their weapon systems neutralized, were quickly secured. Lyra's hands moved toward a hidden device, but Minsik was faster. A targeted EMP pulse, designed specifically for Council technology, rendered her immobile. Your previous victims couldn't warn us, Sunho said, approaching the podium. But they left clues in your own records, enough for us to piece together your pattern. We've been preparing since the day we found the first evidence. Through the grand windows, they could see Council ships retreating, their careful plans in ruins. Humanity had turned their own technology against them, creating defenses they never expected from a developing species. You trusted in our ignorance, Minsik said to the now silent Lyra. You thought we would blindly accept your gifts without studying them, without planning for the possibility of betrayal. As Earth's defensive systems continued to drive back the Council's forces, Minsik received reports from around the globe. The countermeasures were working exactly as planned. Humanity had learned its lessons well, not just in technology, but in patience, in deception, and in the art of appearing less capable than they were. The day that should have marked Earth's fall instead became the beginning of something else. Humanity's emergence as a force the galaxy hadn't expected. They had turned the Council's betrayal into an opportunity, their deception into a shield, and their arrogance into a weapon. Colonel Song Haijin sat in the cockpit of her hybrid fighter, watching the massive Council warships approach Earth. Their golden hulls gleamed in the sunlight, a sight that would have been beautiful if not for their deadly intent. Her squadron of 50 fighters waited in the shadow of the moon, hidden from the Council's sensors by technology of their own design. All wings, report in. Haijin spoke quietly into her communication system. One by one, her pilots confirmed their readiness. Each fighter represented years of secret development, combining Council tech with human creativity. Where Council ships relied on pure energy weapons, Earth's fighters carried modified railguns that could pierce alien shields. Enemy ships entering range, her tactical officer reported. They're launching fighters. The Council vessels released streams of their own fighters, sleek crafts that moved with impossible grace. They expected to find Earth defenseless, their superior technology making victory certain. They didn't expect what happened next. Execute Pattern Sigma, Haijin commanded. Her squadron split into 5 groups, each activating their hybrid drives. The fighters shot forward at speeds that would have torn apart normal human craft. The Council forces noticed them too late. The first battle for Earth's orbit began with a surprise attack that shocked the invaders. Human fighters darted between their larger ships, weapons blazing with modified Council technology. Where the aliens expected primitive resistance, they found an enemy that understood their weaknesses. In high orbit, Admiral Bak Jinwoo watched the battle unfold from his command ship, hidden within a crater on the dark side of the moon. The vessel, like others in Earth's secret fleet, looked nothing like traditional human spacecraft. Its hull incorporated Council metals, its engines used their power systems, but its design was purely human. "Launch all ships," Jin Woo ordered. Deployment pattern Delta. Earth's hidden fleet rose from concealed bases on the Moon and in asteroid fields. The Council's sensors finally detected them, but by then it was too late. The human ships had already moved into attack positions. Colonel Song's fighters drew the Council forces into carefully planned killing zones. When alien ships tried to use their advanced targeting systems, they found their sensors scrambled by frequencies Earth had discovered in their own technology. When they attempted to raise shields, human weapons, modified versions of their own designs, cut through them. Echo Wing pushed their fighters toward Sector 7. Hai Jin commanded, her fighter spinning through space as she dodged enemy fire. Delta Wing, prepare for attack, run on their command ship. The battle turned into a dance of light and shadow. Council ships, despite their superior technology, found themselves outmaneuvered by human pilots who had trained for this exact scenario. Earth's fighters used the sun's glare and the moon's shadow to their advantage. Striking from blind spots, the Council never thought to defend. Admiral Back's fleet engaged the larger Council vessels, revealing weapons that the aliens had never seen before, hybrid systems that combined their energy technology with human projectile designs. The Council's shields, designed to stop pure energy attacks, struggled against physical rounds charged with their own power signatures. Their formation is breaking, Jin Woo's tactical officer reported. They're trying to regroup at Point Beta. Exactly as planned. Jin Woo smiled. Signal Colonel Song. Execute Phase 2. Hai Jin received the order and felt a surge of pride. All wings, form up on me. Time to show them what these ships can really do. Her squadron regrouped, then activated systems that the Council never imagined humans could develop. Their fighters seemed to flicker in and out of existence, using modified versions of Council cloaking technology combined with Earth's electronic warfare systems. The alien fleet, already confused by the unexpected resistance, found themselves under attack from enemies they couldn't track consistently. Human ships appeared and disappeared, striking from multiple angles, using the Council's own technology in ways its creators never intended. Main enemy fleet is retreating, Jin Woo's bridge crew reported. They're falling back to their secondary positions. The Admiral watched as the mighty Council armada, which had arrived expecting an easy victory, began a hasty withdrawal. Their carefully laid plans had crumbled in the face of humanity's preparation and adaptability. Hai Jin led her fighters in one final attack run, demonstrating to the retreating Council forces that Earth not only understood their technology, but had improved upon it. Her squadron's hybrid weapons fired in perfect synchronization, cutting through the aliens' defenses with surgical precision. As the Council fleet disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind their damaged and destroyed ships, both the Colonel and Admiral knew this was only the beginning. Earth had won its first major battle, but the war was far from over. However, they had proven something crucial. Humanity would not be an easy target, and the galaxy's powers would need to reassess everything they thought they knew about Earth. The first wave of the Council's invasion had failed, broken against defenses they never expected to face. As Hai Jin guided her fighter back to base, she thought about how far humanity had come. They had turned the Council's deception into an advantage, their arrogance into a weakness, and their technology into a weapon against them. General Nam Hyenju stood before the holographic display in Earth's hidden command center, studying the web of Council supply routes stretching across space. After repelling the initial invasion, humanity was ready to strike back. But they would do it their way, not through massive fleet battles, but with precision and cunning. Operation Phoenix begins in 6 hours, he announced to his command staff. All strike teams are in position. The plan was bold but calculated. While the Council expected Earth to cower behind its defenses, human ships had already infiltrated key systems using modified cloaking technology. They hid in asteroid fields and nebulae, waiting for the signal. Director Jin entered the command center, her face bright with news. "General, our agents have made contact with the Centaurian survivors. They're ready to help." The discovery that other species had survived the Council's reorganization had changed everything. These survivors had gone into hiding, maintaining secret colonies far from Council space. Now they saw hope in humanity's resistance. "Launch the first wave," Hyenju ordered. Across 20 star systems, Earth's ships emerged from hiding. They struck Council supply depots and communication relays simultaneously, using tactics that confused and scattered the defenders. The Council's response was slow and disorganized. Their quantum communication network, which they believed unbreakable, had been compromised months ago. Earth's scientists had not only cracked their codes but had developed their own quantum network, hidden from Council detection. Jin coordinated the resistance from her own command post. Her screens showed dozens of uprisings breaking out on Council worlds. "The Centaurians have disabled the security grid in the Proxima sector," she reported. "The Aldebaran resistance is moving on their main shipyards." Human ships, smaller and more agile than Council vessels, darted between their defense lines. They struck critical infrastructure and vanished before reinforcements arrived. The Council's mighty fleets found themselves chasing shadows while their supply lines crumbled. General Nam watched as reports flowed in. The Council had always relied on overwhelming force and superior technology. They never expected their enemies to turn their own systems against them, to fight in ways their tactical computers couldn't predict. "Their main fleet is moving to protect their core worlds," an officer reported, "leaving their outer territories exposed." "Just as we planned," Hyenju smiled. "Signal all teams. Begin Phase 2. Earth's forces struck deeper into Council space, not to conquer but to liberate. On dozens of worlds, oppressed species rose up as human ships provided support from orbit. The Council's careful web of control began to unravel. Jin's intelligence network spread truth faster than the Council could contain it. Records of their betrayals, evidence of their lies, sparked rebellions across their territory. Species they thought thoroughly subjugated found new courage in Earth's example. "The Rigel sector has declared independence," Jin announced. 3 more sectors are in open revolt. Council forces found themselves fighting enemies they couldn't see, using tactics they couldn't counter. Human ships would appear from nowhere, strike critical targets, and vanish again. The Council's mighty warships became useless against an enemy that refused to fight on their terms. "Their command structure is breaking down," Hyenju observed. "They're losing control of their outer regions." The Council had never faced an enemy like humanity before. Where other species had fought with brute force, humans fought with cunning. Where others tried to match Council technology, humans adapted and improved it in unexpected ways. Jin's agents spread through Council space, making contact with more resistance groups. Each new ally brought new knowledge, new ways to fight back. The Council's greatest weakness turned out to be their certainty of victory, their belief that no species could challenge their power. As Operation Phoenix entered its 3rd week, the Council's empire began to crumble. Their carefully maintained image of invincibility shattered as news of defeats spread. Worlds they had held for centuries slipped from their grasp. "General," Jin called out, "we're receiving messages from within the Council's inner circle. Some of their own members want to negotiate." Hyenju studied the tactical display, watching as more and more systems turned from Council Red to Liberation Green. They had achieved in weeks what centuries of resistance had failed to do. Not through superior force, but through strategy, adaptation, and the power of truth. The counterstrike had succeeded beyond their hopes. Earth had not just defended itself, it had become a beacon of hope for countless oppressed species. The Council's grip on power, maintained through fear and deception, was failing against an enemy that fought not just with weapons, but with truth. As reports of new victories poured in, both Hyenju and Jin knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had struck the first blow in a revolution that would reshape the stars. Captain Kim Min-ji guided her ship through the shimmering nebula, where the Aldarians had hidden their last outpost. Her vessel's sensors, enhanced with modified Council technology, picked up the faint energy signatures that most ships would miss. The Aldarians had survived here for centuries, waiting for a chance to reclaim their freedom. "We're being scanned," her sensor officer reported. "Multiple sources." Min-ji stood calmly on her bridge. "Hold position. Let them complete their scans." A voice crackled over their communication system, speaking in the musical tones of the Aldarian language. Thanks to Earth's advanced translation systems, Min-ji understood every word. "Earth vessel, you have entered protected space. State your purpose." "I am Captain Kim Min-ji of Earth," she responded. "We come seeking alliance against our common enemy." After a tense moment, several Aldarian ships emerged from the nebula's depths. Their vessels looked different from Council designs, incorporating organic elements that made them nearly invisible in the gas clouds. Ambassador Ryu Jae-hwan stepped forward on Min-ji's bridge. The diplomat had spent months studying Aldarian culture from the fragments they'd discovered in Council databases. "Request permission to board and discuss terms of cooperation." The Aldarians agreed, and soon Min-ji found herself walking through their hidden station. The architecture was beautiful, curves and spirals that seemed to grow from the very metal. Despite centuries of hiding, they had maintained their civilization's artistic soul. In the station's great hall, Aldarian leaders gathered to hear Earth's proposal. Jae-hwan spoke with careful respect, describing humanity's resistance against the Council and their vision for a different kind of galactic alliance. "We do not seek to replace the Council's rule with our own," he explained. "We propose a true partnership of equals, where each species contributes their strengths and maintains their independence." The Aldarian chief speaker, a tall being with shimming scales, listened intently. "Your species has achieved what we thought impossible. You not only resisted the Council, but struck back effectively." "We learned from the past," Min-ji added, "from the stories of species like yours. We want to ensure no one else suffers as you did." In another part of space, Dr. Park Ji-won was meeting with representatives from a dozen other species. The conference room on Earth's diplomatic vessel buzzed with different languages as former victims of Council oppression came together. The Council maintained power through division. Jae-won addressed the gathering. "They kept us isolated, afraid, unaware that others had resisted. That ends today." One by one, species shared their stories. The Centaurians spoke of centuries hiding in dimensional pockets. The Rigelians described their long guerrilla war. Each tale strengthened their resolve to stand together. Back at the Aldarian station, the chief speaker made a decision. "We will join your alliance of free worlds. Our knowledge, our technology, our fighters, all will stand with Earth." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as more civilizations joined the alliance. Each brought unique abilities and technologies. The Centaurians shared their dimensional engineering. The Rigelians offered their stealth systems. Earth provided its tactical innovations and ability to adapt Council technology. Jae-won worked tirelessly to forge these diverse species into a coherent force. Unlike the Council's rigid hierarchy, the Alliance operated on consensus and mutual respect. Each member maintained their culture while contributing to the greater whole. "The Council never imagined we would unite," Min-ji observed during a strategy meeting. "They thought their policy of division would keep us weak forever." Reports came in daily of new species joining the alliance. Some emerged from hiding. Others rose up against Council control. Earth's example had sparked hope across the galaxy, showing that resistance was possible. Ambassador Ryu coordinated diplomatic efforts, ensuring that each new member understood the alliance's principles. "We're not just fighting against the Council," he explained to a group of newly joined species. "We're building something new." The alliance grew stronger each day. Combined fleets of Earth, Aldarian, and other species ships patrolled free space. Scientists from different worlds worked together, combining their knowledge to create defenses the Council couldn't penetrate. Jaiwan watched with pride as former enemies became allies, sharing resources and knowledge freely. The Council's greatest fear had come true. Their victims had not only survived but learned to work together. As the Alliance's influence spread, more Council worlds began to question their loyalty. The truth about the Council's betrayals, broadcast across every frequency, sparked rebellions and defections. "We're creating the galaxy we always dreamed of," Minji told her crew as they escorted another group of liberation ships, not through conquest or deception, but through cooperation and trust. The Council's power, built on lies and fear, crumbled before this new force. They had never prepared for an enemy that fought not just with weapons, but with hope and unity. Commander Yuna stood at the bridge of the Alliance flagship as it dropped out of hyperspace near the Council's capital world. The planet below shimmered with artificial beauty, its surface covered in gleaming cities and orbital rings. This was where the Council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. "All ships in position," her tactical officer reported. "The combined fleet is ready." But this would not be a battle of weapons. Yuna looked at the data crystal in her hand, containing centuries of Council secrets gathered by Alliance intelligence. "Begin the transmission." Across every frequency, on every channel, the Council used to maintain their power, the truth began to flow. Records of their betrayals, evidence of their systematic destruction of civilizations, proof of their lies, all broadcast simultaneously to every world in their domain. Dr. Han Tawu, watching from Earth's command center, saw the data streams light up as the transmission spread. 5 years had passed since he first saw the Council's ship appear above Earth. Now he watched as their empire of deception crumbled. "They're trying to jam the signals," an officer reported. "They can't," Tawu smiled. "We're using their own quantum network against them. Every attempt to stop the transmission only spreads it further." On the Council capital, chaos erupted as their own people learned the truth. The carefully maintained hierarchy, built on lies and fear, began to break apart. Council members turned against each other, each trying to deny their role in millennia of deception. Yuna's fleet maintained position, not firing a single shot. They didn't need to. The Council's power was built on their image of benevolent leadership. As that image shattered, so did their authority. "Multiple Council ships are powering down," her tactical officer reported. "Their crews are refusing orders." Within hours, the Council's leadership found themselves abandoned by their own forces. Their lies, exposed to the light of truth, could no longer maintain their power. Back on Earth, preparations were already underway for what would come next. The Great Hall in Seoul, where humanity had once welcomed Council representatives, was being prepared for a different kind of gathering. Dr. Han Tawu walked through the hall, remembering that first contact. "We've come full circle," he said to a passing colleague. "But this time, we're building something real." Representatives from dozens of species began arriving on Earth. The Aldarians, the Centaurians, the Rigelians, former victims of the Council, now standing as equals. Each brought their own hopes for the future, their own ideas for a better galaxy. Commander Yuna, her mission complete, returned to Earth to join the historic gathering. She had seen the Council's power break, not through force of arms, but through the power of truth. The signing ceremony began as Earth's sun rose over Seoul. Dr. Han Tawu watched from the podium as representatives from over 50 species came forward to sign the charter of the new Galactic Federation of Free Worlds. The charter was simple but powerful. Every species would maintain their independence while working together for common good. Knowledge would be shared freely. No single power would be allowed to dominate others. "We gather here not as conquerors or rulers," Tawu addressed the assembly, "but as equals. The galaxy will no longer be guided by deception and fear, but by cooperation and respect." As each representative signed, their unique traditions were honored. The Aldarians sang their ancient songs of freedom. The Centaurians performed their ritual of unity. Earth shared its own ceremonies of peace. The galaxy was entering a new age. The Council's betrayal, meant to destroy Earth, had instead sparked a revolution that freed countless species. Their attempt to harvest one world had led to the liberation of thousands. Commander Imuna stood at attention as the final signatures were made. She thought of all those who had fought and sacrificed to reach this moment. The Council had expected humanity to be their easiest conquest. Instead, they became the architects of their downfall. As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Han Ta-Wu looked out at the diverse gathering of species. The Council had ruled through division and fear. The Federation would thrive through unity and trust. The stars above Seoul shone brightly that night, no longer symbols of distant threats, but beacons of hope. Humanity had not just survived. They had helped create something new and beautiful from the ashes of oppression. The galaxy would never be the same. The Council's age of deception was over. A new era of cooperation and mutual respect had begun, and all species would face the future together, as equals under the stars.